Dana. Okay. Good morning all. So welcome to intensive bridge course GS-2. I think most of you would have attended the open session also. We have already given a broad idea about how will we be conducting this entire 10 days of 12 days of classes, how we will be going through it. So I'll again just broadly sum up. First what we'll do is we'll go through each and every PYQ. So we'll identify the core themes. So based on that, what we have to do, we should write down the basic content which is necessary first. For example, when you say fundamental rights, there's some core content that you have to use regularly for your GS2 answers. That we need to write down. So then what you have to do, so based on a few PYQ answers we need to write. So then current affairs issues. And obviously meanwhile, so what we'll do, every at least 2 to 3 answers we'll try to here itself we'll write. So that's what we call, because last time so many students were asking that, so it will be better, because mostly what I used to do is, so I used to make you write. So at least that will help you for your writing practice and your content will also get ready. But a lot of students were like, sir, it will be better if we keep writing to at least 2 to 3 answers so that we'll get an idea about how to structure it. So at least in whatever, if it's a 10 marker in 7 or 8 minutes, if it's a 15 marker in 10 or 11 minutes, especially those who are writing mains, if you are writing mains this year, those students, and especially those writing first mains, because writing practice will not be so, so vast for you guys. So that's why they kept demanding it. So that's why we have added it, so that every class, or if not at least overall in the entire day, so 3 or sometimes 4 depending on the number of questions and the time aspects. So you have to write down the structure. I mean, typical, like how you write an answer, you have to write it like that. Fine, I will do that. So first, before getting into the topic, based on whatever we have discussed about PYQ analysis and core themes and all those things, first what we try to do is, let's identify or let's discuss about how to do the answer writing for the art of answer writing, because a lot of times students also have these confusions. So first I'll just broadly sum up, please keep noting it down, because this matters a lot. This you can use, this approach you can use it for your entire GS, even for a lot of times for your optional also, though depending on the optional that you have, a little bit changes also you have to make, but larger part will remain the same. First part, remember always, whenever you go for answer writing, first most important part is identify the subparts of the question. This is the most important part. Identify the subparts. Fine, obviously you will be aware about it. So normally though not as a rule, 10 marker you will have 2 subparts, 15 marker you will have 3 subparts. But sometimes what will happen, so they will not give you any subparts. Even for a 15 marker, they may ask a broader question like critically analyze the implementation of, let's say, midday meal scheme, or let us say in like how they ask in social justice, or let's say in your GS3, like new education policy, national horticulture mission, something like that if they ask. If in case they don't ask the subparts, then what you have to do then? You generate the subparts. Generate subparts, because if you do not generate subparts and just keep writing, so then you are not going to impress the evaluator. That's the first most important part. Fine. Second most obviously, the moment you identify the subparts, which is obviously kind of related to it, identify the demand. Exactly what are the keywords, please identify. Don't identify just one keyword. In fact, what you have to say, overall demand. What are the keywords that you have used? So you have to understand the overall demand. Don't address only one particular keyword of the question, because they might have linked new education policy to something like 21st century demand, or they might have linked it to diversity, or they might have linked it to skill development. So if you just write about new education policy and don't address that how NEP is going to address the employment aspect or the skill development aspect, that means your answer is going to be irrelevant, because it is a huge challenge considering the the 3R demand, because in that you will be in a very hurry, that you will not be, sometimes you will not identify that particular keywords. So please make sure that you identify the overall demand. So that's most important. All this will be practicing. Then clearly mention the subparts. That's very important, and use the same keywords. Like whatever subparts that you identify, mention those subparts very, very clearly. What do you mean by that? Use the same keywords in the question. We'll practice all of them. use same keywords in the question. I think you are able to understand that. So if the question says, just to make you go through it, so if the question says DNA testing, laws relating to the DNA testing of the child in the womb, you have to write, better you use the term womb itself, don't use the term then fetus or something like that, or the child or something like that. Better use laws relating to DNA testing of the child in the womb. So exactly same keywords only you need to use. You cannot just you keep on writing, sir, ultimately everything is the same. It doesn't work like that, because it's a psychological aspect. If you are mentioning the same keywords, that means evaluator will feel that, okay, fine, that means you are addressing whatever we have demanded, or else then he has to go back to the question again and then see, okay, he has used this keyword, probably that keyword and this keyword, he has, all this don't give the scope for evaluator. Clear? That's what I am trying to say. Use the same keywords. Next, another one, if you get to the, let us say for example, broader structuring, obviously, so broader structuring will be having an idea, introduction, body, conclusion, but let us say in the introduction, what are the different ways? Of course, there are different ways of using the introduction. The typical traditional way is what? If you identify the keyword, what do you need to do for that? Write the definition. This is very simplistic, which most of the times will work. I mean, depending on the demand of the question. Sometimes what will happen, you will not get the keywords. For example, I mean, just because I am taking that example, let's say the question is a new education policy. How will you define it? So you cannot define, yeah, exactly, or use the broader aspect, mention the context of it. Why is this particular issue is it in use? It may be, or let's say for example, origin. The new education policy has been drafted by Government of India based on the recommendation of Kasturi Rangan Committee, and it is to replace 1986 education policy and to address the demand of 21st century knowledge economy, something like that. Either you have to mention the context or origin. Sometimes what will happen, depending on your history questions, you can give the historical touch also. Like for example, if the question is related to which one, new non-cooperation movement, civil disobedience, quit India movement, or Bhakti, Sufi, something like that, of course you can go to the historical aspect, that in which century it started, so and so Bhakti movement, it started in so and so place in so and so century, and so are the key people who kind of started it or initiated it in South India, in North India, something like that. That is your historical aspect. These are different ways. There is another way also, which depends on the way used, where you can use some quotes or observations of some person. This is actually working a lot in the recent times, depending on the questions. It's not so easy to generate. Let's say the question is on constitutional morality or something. You can directly start with what? Dr. Ambedkar had referred to constitutional morality in the Constituent Assembly, and according to him. So that is like you are mentioning the context also. It's kind of history aspect also, but it's a kind of observation also. Our Supreme Court had recently referred about constitutional morality in Tamil Nadu governor case or something like that. Kind of context also, but kind of observation of Supreme Court also. That will actually have a lot of impact. And so our Indian constitution is based on the principle of constitutionalism and separation of power, which is the foundation of any democracy, something like that you can link and write. And then you can come to the, if you have definition also, what some toppers are doing is, first they'll do it, they'll start with what? Some observation or quote they'll start. And then they'll start with your introduction. I mean definition kind of a one. That also will work. Again, everything depends on what? Everything depends on which suits you, or which subject suits you. For example, let's say you are very strong in economy, agriculture kind of aspects. Actually, you can go to something like broader observations. In something on question on, let's say, agriculture, you can directly start by writing MS Swaminathan had referred to Green Revolution had so and so, like some kind of observation you'll have. So that observation statement you can write. Then you can start with your introduction aspect. Introduction means the typical definition aspect also. But if nothing works, the best way is what? Definition. If that also is not there, some current affairs, some origin, some context, but don't start without introducing, because remember always introduction and conclusion is what is going to give you 1 mark extra always. You are not going to do anything extraordinary there. You are just going to give a broader introduction, broader conclusion, but matters a lot for the impression. Understood? Then let us say, obviously, if I take one subpart, you will get an idea. As I told, make the clear subheadings. All this you will be knowing. You would have practiced it for a long time by now, but I am just summing up just quickly. My suggestion is, especially in the GS aspect, as far as possible, stick to the point format. When you say point format, 2, maximum 3 lines, fine. And always understand, in a subpart, maximum there is scope for 5 subpoints. Sir, I have, let's say, 10 subpoints. Even if you write 10 subpoints, evaluator is not going to read more than 3 to 4, because first 3 to 4 only is going to determine, okay, first of all, do you know about this topic or not? The additional you write, it is not going to make any impact. And remember, it's a 10 marker or 15 marker. Rather than writing under one subpart, like let's say 8 to 10 points, what you do? Try to generate another dimension and try to write another 3-4 points there. But if you have, let us say, a few extra, then what you do after 4-5 points, try to sum up. In addition, so and so are the features, so and so are the importance, quickly you need to sum up in 2 to 3 lines. Don't keep on writing under one subheading multiple points, like 8 to 10 points. It is not going to give any extra impression on evaluator. Then for each point, what you need to do, always understand, there are 2 components. One is the argument or the analysis aspect, which is the most important part. Because normally, especially for those people who are writing like 3rd mains, 4th mains, 5th mains, whenever scores are not improving drastically, we assume that, okay, maybe I need to substantiate more, I need to quote more reports and all those things. Maybe yes, I am not denying it. You may have to, if you are doing very, very generalistic answers, if you are writing, yeah, you may have to say Supreme Court has said so and so, or Ambedkar has said so and so, World Bank has said so and so, all those things needed. Absolutely not denying. But that is not where the missing part is. Always understand, you need to focus on your arguments first. Evaluator should get to know what is your thought process. Then substantiate, not directly just writing, keep on writing some substantiation aspects. Then you try to substantiate. Again, when you say substantiate, not necessary that each and every point you need to substantiate. It's practically not possible. When you write 5 points, it is like maybe some 2 or 3 questions you may have knowledge to such an extent, facts to such an extent, that you can substantiate each and every point. Practically, it doesn't work like that. If it doesn't, don't worry, no need to worry. Maximum, remember, 50% formula. 2 to 3 points you substantiate, that is more than enough. Understood? You don't have to substantiate each and every point. Got it? Argument, focus more on that. Next, another aspect. When you say substantiate, don't assume that it has to be always facts, not necessary. Again, what you can do here? You can use some observation also. Of course, you can use some facts also. You can quote some reports also. You can quote some judgments if it is paper 2, obviously. You can write some articles. Anything, so many aspects will be there. Everything will broadly fall under, even sometimes quotes. Everything will fall under substantiation, not necessarily something like according to IMF so and so GDP percentage, not necessarily always. Don't take it like that. If in case you had that presumptions about, okay, what do you mean by substantiation, it is very, very broader aspect. So because remember, when the moment you write your substantiation, the idea, I have to understand that the idea is to make your point more and more credible. You need to improve your credibility. That's why you are writing Supreme Court has said so and so, or so and so person has said so and so, is to improve the credibility of your answer. Clear? So this is another aspect. Then let us say, for example, just to understand again, if you look at the overall 20 questions, especially in your GS, you can, this is what I have kind of categorized it. You can do your own categorization. You can divide questions largely into 3. This is based on analysis only, we are telling 2013 to 2024 analysis. On an average, I am telling you minimum 12 to sometimes how many? 15 questions are repeated from same themes. When you say repeated, not like verbatim repeated, the themes are repeated. Now obviously if it is repeated, that means what will happen? That will fall under your category A. So category A means what? Largely you can take it as direct question. I mean, either it was in current affairs, or either that question, I mean, as we discussed in your open session, judicial activism question, or federalism, state relations question, panchayat related questions, basic structure related question, or what do you call this, e-governance related question, SHG related question. Imagine if you have gone through the open session also, you will be aware by now that every year one or other way it keeps getting repeated. Obviously 60 to 70% content will actually remain the same. definition, features, core points, everything. Depending on the demand of the question, you need to address the keywords. Fine. So if it is direct question, what you do, as I keep telling, you go for point format, because you have more points to generate. Use point format, maximum 2 to 3 lines. Clear? Then there will be some category B questions, which is, you know the demand, but it is very broad, vague, general questions. Obviously, so many times you would have come across these questions. You'll be like, I know what are they trying to demand, but I don't know what to write now. I have only 3 points, 4 points. How should I write a 15 marker for this? Obviously, this is where actually category B is where the normal challenge is for a lot of serious candidates. But remember, you will have minimum 5, and if it is less, it may go on up to 8 questions also, depending on that year how they have framed your questions. Very, very broad generalistic questions also if you get, that's a challenge. Here what you need to do, go first point, shift to the short para format. That's the best way to approach. Don't go for typical point format, because you will not be able to fill the space. Remember, both are very important. One is time management, second one is space management. You have very good time management, but you don't have space management skill. And always understand, if the, if you are going to write less than 1.5 side or 1/3/4 side for a 10 marker, you write like, let's say, very, very substantive content. Evaluator cannot give you psychologically more than 4. Maybe rare case it may work, but it doesn't work like that. If you are expecting, because on an average you understand, I'm not talking about ethics here, because ethics they have given up to 140s also. I'm talking about in general any GS. Again, GS 1-3 probably in the recent 2-3 years, I think, not 2-3, probably 5 years only they are going for scaling. That's why if you have seen, even toppers don't cross 100 in GS3. 90s itself probably might be highest. Maybe some other one candidate or some few candidates might have crossed 100, that's it. Maybe GS1 also is to that extent, I think. But on an average, I'm telling you, 120s is the very, very good score, correct? Ethics 140, exception, you leave it. 120s is very, very good score. Means actually how much, if you do the basic percentage aspect also? Simple, 50%. Even if you are getting in 110s also, it's actually a very, very good score. 115, 118, it's very good score in any GS you take. I am not talking about GS4 this year. GS4 this year, it almost looks like 120s is average. So plus 10 is always good. Anything, I think I might have told you in open session also, if anything is the average, you should be like plus 5 to 10 in every paper, you are in top 100, top 50. If you are exactly in average, you will get the interview call. Again, depends on categories also. We are not talking in general, I am broadly talking about the general merit aspect. Rest all obviously depending on the categories, we will have that advantage, all those things, that's a different aspect. Clear? Plus 5 to 10 in every paper, absolutely you are into the list. If it is 10 plus, top 100 guaranteed. If you are like, no sir, 3 marks extra, average is 985, I mean, let's say GS2, average is 100, 105 is the average, 100 to 105 you can say. Means if you are addressed, attempted all the questions, address the broader demand, you will easily get 100 to 110. But you have to address it, not just filling the paper. Then let's say you are getting plus 10, 118, 120, like that in every paper, absolutely you are in top 100, no doubt about it. But if you are getting like, let's say, okay, 110 is average, I am getting 110, I am getting 111. GS3 80 is the average, I am getting 80, 81, 82. GS4 let's say 120 is average, you are getting 120. GS1 let us say 80 is average, you are getting 80, 82. Optional on an average, if you have seen 250, 260 has become the average now. 300 plus is all not so easy to get now. Let's say you are, and absolutely exactly you are getting 260. You will get an interview call depending on how well your interview goes. If it's like you are getting very, very good like 260, 200, 210, then it's a different aspect. Then you, very high chances you will get in. Or else the game is obviously, if you look at the number of marks allotted to the mains, that's a real game. So interview is very, very subjective. By now you will be aware about it, because you will be at least like at least 2 years you will be into this field. You know how interview works at least broadly, even though you will not have an experience. So everybody knows it may work wonderfully, or it may go other way also. So 170 is the average, 160 to 180 is the average. Very impressed, they may take it till 200. Same average, 165, 170. Not so impressed, they may bring down to what 140s also. So very subjective, depending on that 5-10 minutes. Imagine from 140 to 200, 60 marks. Imagine that 60 marks if you have to score here, how much of effort will go? That's why it's an advantage also in interview, but same way it's a huge challenge also, because very subjective aspect. Here it's not so subjective. As I keep telling, remember always syllabus is very detailed. That's the biggest advantage. Now whatever, let's say if you are taking 50%, means what? For a 10 marker, 5 mark is like wonderful marks. If your evaluator is very impressed, they may take it till 5.5, 6 probably looks like not so easy. Same, you apply the 15 marker, 7.5 is like very good score, maybe extraordinarily you have written that particular question, maybe 8. Understood? And again within that, remember, within that 5.5 up to 3, maybe you can say 3.5 also, evaluator will be very what generosity he will show you towards you, that you just address the demand of the question, 1.5 page, you just write, no arguments, nothing, broadly simply write, address it, they will still give you 3.5. The game is where? The game is, that's why have you observed, even just you fill the paper and come, you will easily get 80s. I am telling, in if they are giving you 100 to 120, easily they will give you up to 80, 85. The game is from there till what? Every half a mark, 1 mark will take lot of challenge. So 4, maybe till 4 is easy. 4.5 to 5, that 1 mark is where the real game lies. Even today if you write generally also, they will still give you 3.5 to 4. From 4 to 5 per question means what? Almost per question 1 mark means what? 20 mark. That's where the real game is. Clear? So that's why if it's a 15 mark, I mean if it's a category B question, go for short para format, 3 to 4 lines. That's another one, because for space management trick. Another aspect is what? Don't address the demand of the question very early into the answer, because if you address it very early, you will finish your content by one side itself. You still have 2 sides to write. Then what do you need to write? Then generate dimensions. Something related to the topic, in and around that. You will see how we will keep doing that. Generate dimensions. Then what you do? Write more introduction and basics. Write more introduction and basics. Clear? And irrespective of whether they have asked or not asked, write what is something like, let's say what, negatives, criticisms, way forward, all these things you just keep on generating, or else it's impossible. And don't hesitate, obviously evaluator will also get to know that you are trying to manage, you also know that you are trying to manage, but still it will work. But it has to be around the topic, related to the topic. You will not get obviously 7.5 if you write like this, but you can still, chances are very high that it may go till 6 to 6.5. But if you feel like I don't know anything about it and then just write something like broadly scribble and come, it may come down to 3.5 to 4 also. So remember that 2 to 3 marks in those 5 to 6 questions means how much? Or even 1 mark in 5 to 6 questions, that itself is 6-7 marks. 6 to 8 or 6 to 9, depending on how many questions and how have you managed these things. This is where actually toppers will manage the best, because any serious candidate, very easy to manage this, because you would have put the effort. Imagine more or less everybody is the same content. This everybody will manage. Most of the serious candidates I am telling. Challenge is how do you manage this, because minimum 5, sometimes 8 questions. Then the third question, third category is what? Very random question that depends how many questions they ask. That is not so easy to, what do you call as this, guess. In GS2 that kind of questions is very rare. Normally in GS3 and GS1 only you get that kind of questions. Fine. It can be 0 to maximum 2. In GS2 almost in the last 4-5 years it's like 0. They are not asking that random question. Random means, understand, right? You have absolutely no idea, you are not even able to, what do you call this, link or understand what are they trying to ask. That is very rare. Normally it happens in your science and technology or something like, or some art and culture or something like that. GS2 very rare, ethics very rare. Maybe in optionals you may get that kind of questions. Now here you don't have an option, at the end, keep it at the end, and then whatever keyword, for example, just very famous kind of question is what, if you know from 2016 that has that, UNESCO's McBride Commission report. Nobody knew what is that commission itself. But they had asked, write a detailed note on, you go and look at it, you will understand. IR question, UNESCO's McBride Commission report. How will you know what is UNESCO McBride Commission report unless it is in news? Then the only option is what? What is the key word? You have to write broadly about that. Of course, sir, it is not addressing the demand. Yes, no, I mean absolutely no. But it may at least give you UNESCO broadly something about that. If you write that it keeps coming up with reports, something like that, and all those things, maybe you may get 2, or you never know, 2.5 also you may get, but still it's fine. So imagine how much of an impact it will have on the final score. Fine. Yeah. So no, you should not leave any question at all. That's the rule. Especially general merit candidates, if you leave the question and come out, game is very difficult. Unless like, okay sir, absolutely nobody might have attended it, maybe fine. Or else you leave the question, I knew it, but I could not give. Remember that I normally keep telling that Anudeep Durishat is very famous, but because he had assumed that, okay, I'll write the best answer for 15-16 question, that's fine. Everybody else will write the generalistic answer, but I'll write the best for 16-17 question. But remember, evaluator, even if you take 1 hour and write the same question, you are still going to get half mark or 1 mark extra. Means in this, in place of let's say 7 minutes for a 10 marker, even if you give 10 minutes, 20 minutes for a 10 marker also, you are still going to get what? Half mark or 1 mark extra. So don't be in an assumption that I'll write 16 very good answers, 17 very good answers. It is not going to make drastic impact. All the answers more than average, all the questions more than average you need to write. That is where you are going to cross that 115, 120 score. Clear? Yeah, okay. So that is one other broader aspect. Then obviously conclusion. I've told you even in the what do you call this open session itself, the moment you identify any criticism or loopholes, never ever forget to write the way forward, because that's a civil servant trait, attribute. Please don't miss. Then in the conclusion, what you need to do? You have to be as optimistic as possible, because writing conclusion itself is a kind of a what do you call this skill. You can sum up also obviously, and most importantly in the conclusion, or in fact throughout the answer, keep repeating the keywords of the questions. Repeat the keywords of question throughout your answer, especially in conclusion. So that evaluator feels that you are addressing the keywords, key demand. Fine. And obviously, in addition to all these things, what comes up is what? The organization and the presentation aspects, which I don't have to substantiate again and again. Some people also differentiate what do you mean by organization here, where how do you, like let's say what do you call this space alignment or the font size, spacing between the lines, spacing between the words, the what do you call this, how are you writing one point below the other, all those also will fall under your organization. Of course, the legibility aspect, all those things, undoubtedly you can keep 1 mark, invisible marks for your organization and present aspects itself. 1 invisible mark per question I am telling, not like per paper. Minimum 0.5, it depends, sometimes according to me 1 mark itself. So work a lot on this if in case you have a challenge. Spacing between the lines, spacing between the words, the space alignments also, because remember with that you can manage your space also better. If your font size very less, how will you fill the space? If you don't fill the space, as I told, evaluator cannot give you, if you write less than 1.5 or 1/3/4 space, impossible for him to give you 4.5. Nobody will give you in it. The same thing you apply for 15 marker also. Clear? Yeah, please work on that if you still have a challenge. So even handwriting classes, if those who are writing multiple mains, you ask them, they would have already, if a lot of people would have joined the handwriting class also. If you have handwriting issue, please join handwriting class also. Don't hesitate, don't bring in your ego. How can I go and write this 3-liner, 4-liner, whatever, or join the handwriting classes? It matters a lot. I can't name, but there are so many people who are with us also. I know personally also who had joined handwriting classes and got into the list also in their 4th, 5th mains. Because in the first 1 or 2 mains will be like, I am going to be an IS, why should all this space, handwriting, everything will matter? Because someone else will be writing typing the what copies for me, someone else, I just have to sign, go through it. That is after you get in. To get in, no, practically that is out. To get in, all this will matter a lot, because remember, he is ultimately a human being who is evaluating. So, and another, as a formula I keep telling this, and per question, whatever the evaluator goes through question, he or she should not read your answer for more than 15-20 seconds. If that should be the formula, that means imagine how easy you have to make it for him or her. Keywords always highlight, spacing between the lines, spacing between the words, tabular columns, mind maps. Those, remember in your economy, as Ashish sir was telling, kind of pie charts, India maps, this bar graphs, that line graph, always will matter a lot. It will make it very, very easy. The core aspect is what? Make the life of the evaluator easy. If you make his life easy, your life is going to be wonderful and great. If you make his life difficult, that means you know the impact. Chandra Layout then. Yeah, no, that is the reality. That's the truth also. It matters a lot. I don't even have to substantiate further. So if you still have that presumption that it will not matter, only content matters, all those things, please don't be in that illusion. Content matters, no doubt about it. Ultimately, it is your arguments, your analysis only will matter. But how are you going to convey it as easy as possible to evaluator also matters, because you are not going to sit with him and explain. Everything is your answer copy. Especially boys, because normally we'll have presentation issues. I mean, normally, not like you can't generalize. Girls normally will have average or more than average only presentation skills. So please work on that. I normally keep telling, every mains I keep telling this. If in case you have that problem, those writing this mains, for those writing next mains also, you still have time, please work on that. Clear? Okay, this is the broader aspect. Now obviously all these will keep using it. Now let's go to the basics. I mean, let's go to the first topic. Of course, in the polity part, the content aspect, as I told, first is content aspect, then PYQ answers, then current affairs, then live, I mean, few answers you have to write. First we'll start with your preamble itself. Yeah. Please note down the only one question, as I have already identified in your, what do you call as this open session, only one question has been asked on preamble. Which one? This broader question. Discuss each adjective attached to the word. You don't have to write the question now. If you want, you note it down, but we'll write the content first and then we'll come back and write the answer for this. If you have started to write, please, you can note it down, it's fine. Second, you know, okay, voice check ಮಾಡಿದೀನಿ, voice ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಹಾಕಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಯೂಟ್ಯೂಬ್ ಲೈವ್ ಇದಾಕಿದೆ ನೋಡಿ, ಕಮೆಂಟ್ ಚೆಕ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ಯಾ ಆಮೇಲೆ? Okay, what content you need to have about preamble in general for your mains perspective. We are not going to go as detailed as your prelims because those are all normal classes. The only core part, just note down whenever there is a question on preamble. Someone has asked, sir, will you give the notes or is it dictation? You have to write a lot, because I have observed, we have gone through it, whenever we give any material, so it will become another material. So obviously you will just keep it like that. So better note down, because ultimately mains is what? You have to write. That's a writing game. So please write it down. You have to write a lot, in fact. Of course, this is a very simple basics we are starting with. Gradually we'll go, just write the broader descriptions of the preamble, because those are all you have to keep using it in your introduction and conclusion. Descriptions of preamble. Fine. First one obviously is what? You can use Nani Palkewala statement if possible. Yeah, identity card of the constitution. We have to be very, very quick. So don't assume that it is there in the normal classes also. It has to be your mains notes. Please keep noting it down here. It is your ultimate mains note this year, next year, any year for the core concepts, including the PYQs. Only current affairs you need to add for those who are not writing this mains, I am telling. Then Supreme Court in Berubari Union case. Supreme Court in Berubari Union case, 1960. Key to the minds of makers of constitution. Key to the minds of makers of constitution. Then K. Munshi. Yeah. So why are we writing it? Because it depends on the demand of the question. You can use any of the quotes. K. Munshi. Exactly. Horoscope of Sovereign Democratic Republic of India. Horoscope of Sovereign Democratic Republic of India. Horoscope of the Sovereign Democratic Republic of India. Then Pandit Thakurdas Bhargava. Pandit Thakurdas Bhargava. This one what? Soul or precious jewel of constitution. Soul or precious jewel of constitution. Soul or precious jewel of constitution. Fine. Then Sir Ernest Barker. Keynote to the constitution. Keynote to constitution. Then Keshwananda Bharati case. Preamble is a part of constitution, can be amended without violating basic structure. 1973 Keshwananda Bharati case. Preamble is a part of constitution. It can be amended. Basic structure cannot be violated. Can be violated without can be amended without violating basic structure. Without violating basic structure. Then LIC India case. LIC India case. Preamble is an integral part of the constitution. Integral part of the constitution. Integral part of constitution. Fine. If you want, just as a fact, 42nd Amendment 1976 added the words. 42nd Amendment 90, very, very basics, obviously, you know, added the words, which one? Socialist, secular and integrity. Socialist, secular and integrity. Socialist, secular and integrity. Then preamble is non-justiciable. Only whatever you can make use of the points in mains, we'll only write them. Preamble is non-justiciable. Preamble is non-justiciable. Then, if in case very simple aspects, preamble indicates, you know that very simple, very, very simple basics. First is what? Nature of Indian state. Nature of Indian state, which is what? Sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic. The nature of Indian state. Then goals of Indian constitution. Equality, liberty, fraternity, justice, if you want unity, integrity also you add. Then source. Obviously, people of India. Then date. That's it. These are the only points you need to remember. Rest, if you write that answer, automatically the part of whatever is necessary for from preamble related to mains is done. 26 November 1949, source people of India. Fine? Yeah, now directly write the answer for this. Please keep noting it down so that you keep understanding. Then we'll go for the live answer writing. After we will see that. Discuss. Clearly they are telling you, of course you would have written in your normal class also. Yeah, another aspect, just I'll clarify once. Remember, because the key word that they have used here is what? Discuss. So this I'll clarify because sometimes students have this confusion. See, what you got as broadly the directives aspect. You can divide actually directives into three categories. One is what? This is category 1 again, group 1. Something like what you get it like explain, or sometimes they'll tell briefly explain, or sometimes there's some illustrate, or what you call as justify, describe. See, these are all one level, one category, where they're telling you, they'll give a statement and then they'll tell explain, illustrate, justify, describe, all those ones. Actually, if you look at it, I mean, if you take the literal verbal interpretation of that, what you have to do? You have to just go with the demand of the question, go with the flow. Means, if the statement says that Indian Constitution is a progressive document which has addressed the demands of so and so and all everything, you just have to say yes and then keep going ahead. That is what you call it as one broader aspect. This is theory aspect I am telling. Practically, we don't use the same things now. There is something in between. In between means something where they'll ask you discuss, examine, analyze, critically analyze, so many things that you will get it. So where you have to address all the dimensions or multiple dimensions. Like you have to write the significance, you have to write the negatives, you have to write the way forward. I'm just generalizing it, but again the keywords that you have to use depends on the demand of the question. Significance, criticism, way forward. But you can still keep adding critically analyze them. You might have seen that critically examine, they'll tell. Then there's some other categories where they'll tell you what is your opinion, comment, what do you think. Remember that kind of words you would have used. What do you think, what is your opinion, in your opinion, what do you think so. Those kind of words they will use. Now obviously here what you need to do? Explicitly mention your opinion. What do you think? Absolutely you need to mention that and clearly convey to the evaluator. So put it in a box or put it double underline it, whatever, evaluators should get to know. Now actually as of now what has happened is in the last whatever the number of years, 5-7 years we can take, because of the increase in the the competition and all those things, almost directives has relatively lost the importance. So let them ask explain or justify or describe or any of those things, the structure of the answer is this. Let them ask any directive, it doesn't matter, you have to stick to this structure. Which one? Dimensions. Dimensions is the key, because the more dimension you generate, more is the value for your answer. Assured. So don't worry much about the directives, though literally or verbal interpretation means a lot. Differs a lot. Next one is what? This one is the only difference that you have to make. Even for this kind of question, even if the question says comment also, you don't have to stick to only one dimension. First you write this. At the end what you do? Considering all the opinions or considering the above arguments and everything, I still think, what is your opinion? Yeah. Correct. Not negative exactly, means you have to be very strongly critical of the, I mean, whatever the question that they have given. No. Both, all the dimensions you need to mention, irrespective of whatever is the demand. Maybe if you are writing 3 to 4 points positive or 4 points positive, maybe you can write 1 point or something extra also for under negative one, criticisms. But I would still feel, if they have not asked something like this, don't worry too much about the directive, stick to this. Conclusion will remain the same. Maybe in the conclusion aspect, what you can tell, we have whenever it is they have told critically analyze or something, highlight points like that government has to identify the loopholes and try to work on it a lot. So our government has a huge responsibility to address so and so issue. It has to take the issue in a more critical aspect and then try to address it. So that aspect you need to identify more. If it is describe or something like that more, again I am telling you these are all ideal things. In real time it's not so easy. With order of practice only it comes. Because remember, only if it has gone to subconscious mind, you will be able to generate it at that moment in a flow. You can't think there and then, okay, it is critically analyzed, let me be little. It doesn't work like that. It has to literally get imbibed in your completely, the system itself should get imbibed. Okay, what kind of question, how am I going to respond now? Clear? Yeah, so these are the only things, this one and this. Other than that, don't worry much about your, what do you call this, directives. Yeah, so let's go to this. They're clearly telling you, discuss each adjective attached to the word republic. This is your first subpart. As I keep telling, the moment you look at the question in your, for those writing first mains, I think by now you'll be knowing that they'll give a separate question paper, and then in the booklet itself you will have that question. There itself please mark. Small things matter a lot. Don't try to mark in your that separate sheet, because then that separate sheet you have to keep along with it. It doesn't work practically. Whichever the booklet answer is there itself please mark those, like how you do it in your prelims. Identify the keywords. Okay, this is subpart 1, and then subpart 2. And are they clearly telling you what? Are they defendable in the present circumstances? Understood? And now obviously, I mean 10 marker, 15 marker will not differentiate much. Depending on the demand, obviously you have to keep going. Yeah, please write, how will you structure it then? The question is about what broadly? Question is about, start by referring to the preamble first. So that's the reason we wrote those. Yeah, please write preamble. Preamble is a preface to the Constitution. Preamble is a preface to the Constitution. Nani Palkiwala famously described it as. Nani Palkiwala famously described it as, obviously what? Identity card of the Constitution. Identity card of the Constitution. Identity card of the Constitution. Idea of preamble is borrowed from US. Idea of preamble is borrowed from US. Then depending on 10 marker or 15 marker, what you do, generate this. Preamble indicates whatever you wrote just now. Remember those 4 aspects, write them. And is what? Source. Just now you wrote all of that. Next is nature of Indian state. Then the goals aspect. Then the date aspect. If it's a 15 marker, you will have scope to write this. 10 marker, obviously depends. Source of the Constitution, people of India, nature of Indian state, sovereign, socialist, secular. Goals, you know that. And then date. Yeah. So as again, there's another 2 ways. One, what you can do, directly you can put that subheading, or you can use a linking paragraph. You can write that Republic is a political system in which The head of the state is directly or indirectly elected by the people. Republic is a political system in which head of the state is directly or indirectly elected by the people. Directly or indirectly elected by the people. Now, preamble mentions multiple adjectives to describe nature of Indian Republic. The adjective word you need to highlight and republic word. Preamble mentions multiple adjectives to highlight or to describe the nature of Indian Republic. The nature of Indian Republic. Uses multiple keywords to describe the nature of Indian Republic. Now, each and every keyword, because they are clearly telling you each adjective you need to discuss. I'll tell you the structure itself broadly. Of course, the first keyword start, sovereign. Our structure will remain like this here. 3 subheadings you have to do. I mean, subheadings in the sense, first one you have to mention here, you need to define. Then you need to write the positive aspect. Then you need to write the criticism aspect. Because remember, are they defendable also they are telling. Fine, and the defendable word we need to keep on mentioning multiple times. Yeah, clarify that, because these 2 subparts you may not address separately also. For example, some people what they do, are they defendable, they will make a separate subheading. Or because each and every keyword you are writing, there again you can't go and write India is sovereign again, because you are discussing here, and then again you have to go and write another time, okay, India is sovereign or not, India is sovereign, all those things. So what we will do, we will both the subparts we need to combine, but the word called as which one? Defendable you need to highlight. Yeah, clarify that first. When you write sovereign, obviously write the basic definition. It refers to, or it can be defined as, a country being free from any kind of external control. It can be defined as a country being free from any kind of external control. From any kind of external control. From any kind of external control. It also includes the ultimate decision making authority. It also refers to the ultimate decision making authority. India became republic on Jan 26th, 1950. India became republic on Jan 26th, 1950. India became republic on Jan 26th, 1950. Then below that, now the positive aspect means, yes, you are saying yes, India is a sovereign country. Clarify that. In the recent times, India rejected to sign RCEP agreement of ASEAN. India rejected to sign RCEP agreement of ASEAN, Association of Southeast Asian Nations, RCEP agreement of ASEAN. If you want another one, obviously example wise, even Operation Sindoor also you can link. Recently Operation Sindoor of India or Indian Army, Operation Sindoor of Indian Army reflects, Operation Sindoor of Indian Army reflects the sovereignty of India. Means you are trying to protect your national interest. Reflects the sovereignty of India. Fine. Then criticism aspect. However, being a developing country, India's sovereignty, is compromised to an extent. India's sovereignty is compromised to an extent. Being a developing country, India's sovereignty is compromised to an extent. Simple. For example, 1991 economic LPG reforms was based on the pressure of IMF. 1991 LPG reforms was based on pressure of IMF. These are your basics only. We are starting with that. 1991 LPG reforms was based on pressure of IMF. If you want other one, India's agriculture export-import policy based on the pressure of WTO. This is, I am giving you larger picture. In the real time, obviously, you can make use of 60-70% content also, you can generate even a 15 marker. India's policies on agriculture, export-import based on the pressure of pressure of WTO. Pressure of WTO. That is first keyword. The next keyword, socialist. So that clearly you need to identify that, and then definition, and then positive aspect, then criticism aspect. Fine, socialist, write the basic definition. It is a socio-economic system in which ownership of the resources, control on the distribution of goods and services, socio-economic system in which ownership of the resources, control on the distribution of goods and services is largely in the hands of the state. Is largely in the hands of the state. Is largely in the hands of the state. This is broader aspect, but then clarify below. If you want, the term was added by 42nd Amendment 1976. I am giving a broader aspect. You make use of 60-70% in exam because it's not so easy to generate all the points. It was added by 42nd Amendment 1976. Then, according to Supreme Court, India follows or India doesn't follow Marxian or state socialism. According to Supreme Court, India does not follow Marxian or state socialism, or Marx or state socialism. We follow democratic socialism with an egalitarian goal. We follow democratic socialism with an egalitarian goal, or based on egalitarianism, with an egalitarian goal. And what is the objectives? The objectives is to eradicate poverty, empower vulnerable sections, reduce inequality. The objective is to eradicate poverty, empower vulnerable sections, reduce inequalities. This is the broader aspect. Now, obviously positive. Successive governments, below that another paragraph. Reduce inequalities, empower vulnerable sections, reduce inequalities. Before that, is that fine? Then successive governments have taken or have implemented multiple welfare measures. Successive governments have implemented multiple welfare measures to meet socialism goal or socialistic goals. To meet socialistic goals. For example, according to World Bank, less than 1% Indians live in extreme poverty. Less than 1% Indians live in extreme poverty. According to UNDP, India has lifted 40 crore people out of poverty between 2005 to 2020. According to UNDP, India has lifted 40 crore people out of poverty. 40 crore people out of poverty between 2005 to 2020. So this is positively yes. Then below that, however, post 1991, income inequality has drastically increased. Post 1991, income inequality has drastically increased. Income inequality has drastically increased. You know that very famous fact, according to Oxfam report or World Inequality Report also you can say. According to Oxfam report, top 1% Indians own. According to Oxfam report, top 1% Indians own 45 to 50% of total wealth or income, whatever words. Top 1% Indians own 45 to 50% of the country's total wealth. If you want just other aspect, regional imbalances has increased between South and Western India and the rest of the country. What they called as islands of development, islands of glory, increased between the South and Western India versus that is and compared to rest of India. In bracket, Amartya Sen describes it as islands of glory. Islands of glory. Professor Amartya Sen describes it as islands of glory. Yeah, then secular. Secular. Under that, obviously, the first keyword. Which one? Exactly. It refers to state not having an official religion. State not having any official religion. State not having any official religion. That is very simplistic definition. State not having any official religion. Again, it was added by 42nd Amendment 1976. Added by 42nd Amendment 1976. 42nd Amendment 1976. Then below that, under significance you can say, I mean, you can just directly like that. If you could have mentioned significance also. India follows positive secularism. India follows positive secularism. Article 25 to 28. Article 25 to 28 provides freedom of religion. 25 to 28 provides freedom of religion. 29 and 30 upholds. Provides freedom of religion. 29 and 30 provides also, you can say, obviously what? Cultural, educational rights of minorities. Cultural, educational rights of minorities. 29 and 30. Cultural, educational rights of minorities. Then below that, Supreme Court in SR Bommai case 1994. Supreme Court in SR Bommai case 1994 has mentioned secularism as part of basic structure. Has mentioned, Supreme Court in SR Bommai case 1994 has mentioned secularism as part of basic structure. Fine. If you want just description wise, again secularism when you write, you can write in detail. Indian secularism is based on Sarva Dharma Samanvaya principle. Indian secularism is based on Sarva Dharma Samanvaya principle. Keep underlining the keywords, make it as an habit, because that should just keep coming in flow. Sarva Dharma Samanvaya principle. Yeah. Then, however, politicization of religion. politicization of religion, vote bank politics, communal riots, politicization of religion, vote bank politics, communal riots, hate speech, hate speeches, poses challenges to India's secularism. Poses challenges to Indian secularism. Then democracy. Then obviously simple definition first. It is based on the principle of popular sovereignty. That is, people are ultimate decision makers. Based on the principle of popular sovereignty, that is, people are ultimate decision makers. People are ultimate decision makers. People are ultimate decision makers. According to Ambedkar, democracy upholds, or democracy is about self-respect and dignity of every individual. According to Ambedkar, democracy is about self-respect and dignity for every individual. Democracy is about self-respect and dignity for every individual. And below that, obviously, significance wise, you write India is guys, one of the most successful democracy in the global south. India is one of the most successful democracy in the global south. Most successful democracy in the global south. We have progressed from formal procedural democracy towards substantive democracy. We have progressed from formal procedural democracy towards participatory substantive democracy. Formal procedural democracy towards participative substantive democracy. Participative substantive democracy. Participative substantive democracy. Gram Sabha, in bracket you write 73rd Amendment 1992. Gram Sabha has provided opportunities for empowering grassroots community. Gram Sabha has provided opportunity for participation at the grassroots level. Anything you can write. Opportunity for participation at grassroots level. Then Supreme Court has declared democracy as part of basic structure. So many cases, Indira Gandhi case, PUCL case. Overall content you have to find in this topic, it's in this answer itself. Supreme Court has described democracy as part of basic structure in Indira Gandhi case, PUCL case. Indira Gandhi case, PUCL case. Again, now the challenge. However, criminalization of politics, in bracket 44%, 18th Lok Sabha ADR. However, criminalization of politics, 44% in 18th Lok Sabha ADR, Association for Democratic Reforms. Criminalization of politics, in brackets you write 44%, 18th Lok Sabha ADR. Very low representation of women, obviously you know, around 14%, actually little less than that, again 18th Lok Sabha ADR. Very low representation of women, around 14%, 18th Lok Sabha ADR. 18th Lok Sabha ADR. Then influence of money, muscle power in elections. Influence of money, muscle power in elections. In bracket, just write Santanam Committee. Influence of money and muscle power in elections. Influence of money and muscle power in elections, Santanam Committee indicates challenges to the health of Indian democracy. Indicates the challenges to the health of Indian democracy. Challenges to the health of Indian democracy. Yeah, now broader conclusion you write. Now again, keywords of the question you have to keep repeating. In the in the last 75 years, post independence, Indian democracy and republic, in the last 75 years post independence, Indian democracy and republic has successfully penetrated to the grassroots level. Indian democracy and republic has penetrated to the grassroots level, successfully penetrated to the grassroots level. Successfully penetrated to the grassroots level. Despite challenges to the Indian Republic, each adjective mentioned are largely defendable even today. Each adjective mentioned are largely defendable even today. Largely defendable even today. However, we need to address the concerns. We need to address the concern to realize the real dream of constitution makers or constituent assembly. We need to address the concerns to realize the real dreams of the constituent assembly. To realize the real goal, dream, aspiration, whatever, of the constituent assembly. You see, obviously you would have content up to 15 or 20 marker here. You just have to use how much here? 60% you replicate in the real time. Easily, obviously you will get, they have no other way, they have to give you, if it's a 15 marker also, 7.5. Just go through it. So see if it is largely addressing the demand of the question. There is no other question asked on preamble till now in the mains, only one question. There is also no scope for asking any other question also. We had made one question like, but I don't think last year also I had used this, because it's a basic question. I can again make you go through it. Chances of you getting this question is relatively less, but just go through it because you can make use of the same kind of content. Even last year we had gone through this content, and few other basics are there. If in case they ask, they may ask something like this. It's a basic question, that's why I have not changed this question. It is not based on current affairs. Just go through the keywords. So they're telling Indian preamble is an expression of the collective will, because remember constitution means itself in the beginning says what? We the people. So people of India are the source. And aspirations, obviously the nature of the India, I mean what not nature, the goals of Indian constitution. It provides a moral philosophical compass for not only the constitutional framework but also the governance of the country. Means how preamble is having an impact on the government policies, programs and all those things, or the acts for that matter. Remember, actually in a simple way they are referring to which one? That preamble is a key to the minds of makers of constitution. Something that one they are referring to it broadly. Just go to the broader content part of it. It's a theory question, doesn't change much. Of course, any keywords you can use. They have used here Palkewala's identity card. That's why we wrote those keywords. RKM Munshi's introduction will largely remain the same. Then they have tried to address how preamble tries to provide a moral philosophical compass for the constitutional framework and governance. Obviously, you need to write here what? You need to write here so many, whatever words you write or whatever arguments you write, you have to keep on mentioning that this has been used. Or when you write sovereign keyword, as you mentioned here, that this has been reflected like this. So in the government measures, or when you write socialist, or you have to write what? Welfare measures. When you write secular, you have to write Supreme Court has said so and so. Each and every keyword you have to clarify that. Then if you want, of course, separately you can write mention certain challenges also. Fraternity, equality, everything you can write about that. They have taken broader aspect. Yeah, if you want, just note down the question once, so that content part no need to worry much for this particular topic. So prepare for that kind of basic question. As we have identified in PYQs, sometimes they'll give you questions on basics. This is about your first chapter, preamble from the mains perspective. Done? Okay, so from preamble, these are the only pointers you have to keep it in mind. Now let's write about, put the heading Union and Territories chapter, and let's look at the PYQ first. They have only asked one PYQ. I think you recall that. It is there in this one. This is the only PYQ which is related to your which one? Union and Territories chapter. Very famous PYQ. Normal in your normal classes also we write that, but here only Mains perspective. Within few minutes we will finish off entire Union and Territories chapter. Fine. So what is the only scope for the question that you have here? Need for which one? Obviously which one? That is the only scope you have in your Union and Territories chapter. But of course, few pointers you have to keep it in mind. So what content should be there related to that chapter? First you write that, then we'll go to this answer. Then we'll look at, if possible, any current affairs. I'll show you the current affairs aspect also. Please note down the content which is necessary. Obviously, which one? Union and Territories, just put the subheading, directly, quick, just sum up. Part 1, Article 1 to Article 4. Part 1, Article 1 to Article 4. Directly write what is Article 1, very brief. India, that is Bharat, shall be Union of States. India, that is Bharat, shall be Union of States. So should we discuss current affairs related to secularism? Yeah, we'll come up with all of those things. Nothing will be missed out, don't worry. First, do the content part first. Then obviously what you need to understand here, according to Ambedkar, it includes two components, very basics, only from mains perspective, nothing related to prelims. Obviously, you know, first one, A, India is not formed as a result of treaty or agreement. India is not formed as a result of treaty or agreement between regional units. Not formed as a result of treaty or agreement between regional units. Not formed as a result of treaty or agreement between regional units. B, no states have the right to secede from union. No states have right to secede from union. No states have right to secede from union. Directly, if you want, write the description also. India famously described as indestructible union of destructible states. India is famously described as indestructible union of destructible states. Indestructible union of destructible states. Then Article 2, indestructible union of destructible states. It empowers Parliament. It empowers Parliament. It empowers Parliament to, first one under that, admit into Union of India already existing states. Admit into Union of India already existing states. Admit into Union of India already existing states. Already existing states. B, establish new states that are not part of Union of India. Establish new states that are not part of Union of India. Establish new states that are not part of Union of India. Then Article 3, it empowers Parliament. It empowers Parliament. Empowers Parliament to make changes in already existing parts of India. It empowers Parliament to make changes in the already existing parts of India. Empowers Parliament to make changes in already existing parts of India. It includes A. Remember, again, this is also kind of in news. If you recall, Kerala is trying to rename as Keralam, all those things. A, increase or decrease or alter boundaries of states or UT. Increase or decrease or alter boundaries of states or UT. Increase or decrease or alter boundaries of states or UTs. Boundaries of states or UT. B, rename state or UT. Rename state or UT. Rename the state or UT. C, create a new state or UT. Create a new state or UT. Either by dividing or merging existing state or UT or parts of it. Create a new state or UT either by dividing or merging existing state or UT or parts of it. Dividing or merging state or UT or parts of it. Fine. Article 3 provides special procedure. Article 3 provides special procedure. Under that, quickly sum up. A. Article 3 provides special procedure. First one is what? This is very, very simple. Your basics you obviously knew. For prelims also would have revised a lot. Yeah, president's prior permission is required. President's prior permission required. B. Forward the bill to respective state. Forward bill to respective state legislature, whose opinion is not binding. Whose opinion is not binding. Forward the bill to respective states whose opinion is not binding. Then pass the bill by simple majority. By whom? Obviously Parliament. Parliament should pass it by simple majority. Parliament should pass it by simple majority. Then Article 4. Laws passed under Article 2 and Article 3. Laws passed under Article 2 and Article 3 are not amendments to Constitution under 368. Laws passed under Article 2 and Article 3 are not amendments to Constitution under 368. Are not amendments to Constitution under 368. Under 368. Then Supreme Court in Berubari Union case. Supreme Court in Berubari Union case. 1960. Berubari Union case 1960. Only Parliament can cede Indian territory to other country. Only Parliament can cede CED Indian territory to other country. Under 368 special majority. Parliament can cede Indian territory to other country. Under Article 368 special majority. Under Article 368 special majority. Examples: 9th Amendment 1960. 9th Amendment 1960 ceded part of Berubari Union to East Pakistan. 9th Amendment 1960 ceded part of Berubari Union to East Pakistan. Part of Berubari Union to East Pakistan. Then 100th Amendment 2015, land boundary agreement between India and Bangladesh. Remember that enclaves, very famous. 100th Amendment 2015, land boundary agreement between India and Bangladesh. Land boundary agreement between India and Bangladesh. Then another one, Supreme Court has clarified that territorial disputes can be handled, can be resolved. Territorial disputes can be resolved directly by executive action, means government signing an agreement. Territorial disputes can be resolved directly by executive action. Directly by executive action. Example, Kachativu dispute. Directly by executive action. Kachativu dispute between India and Sri Lanka. Kachativu dispute between India and Sri Lanka resolved by an agreement signed by Indira Gandhi, 1975. Kachativu dispute between India and Sri Lanka resolved by an agreement signed by Indira Gandhi in 1975. Agreement signed by Indira Gandhi in 1975. If you want other, Numur dispute, India and Bangladesh, agreement signed by Manmohan Singh. Numur dispute, India and Bangladesh, agreement signed by Manmohan Singh. agreement signed by Manmohan Singh. Fine. Then the Kashmir one, all those things you don't have to recall. Which point you have to absolutely recall is what? Just sum up below. Dar Commission, JVP Commission rejected linguistic reorganization. DHAR, Dar Commission, JVP Committee. That all you do, you know. That's why I'm not briefing anything. Everything you know that. Very, very direct. Your prelims also you would have studied. Rejected linguistic reorganization. Then states reorganization, Fazal Ali, 1953. States Reorganization Commission, 1953, Fazal Ali. States Reorganization Commission, 1953, Fazal Ali. If you want two other members, that also you know basics, plus Panikkar plus Kunzru. Fazal Ali plus Panikkar plus Kunzru. Agreed states agreed linguistic reorganization. Agreed for linguistic reorganization. Because this is landmark commission, you should know. Agreed for linguistic reorganization, rejected one language, one state. Whatever has to be in the content part, basic content part, then PVQs. Rejected one language, one state. Rejected one language, one state. Then below other parameters. Other parameters. Obviously, first one, sovereignty, unity, integrity of India. Sovereignty, unity, integrity of India. B, linguistic cultural homogeneity. Linguistic cultural homogeneity. So the chances of asking direct question on Fazal Ali you will not get. Linguistic cultural homogeneity. 3, financial administrative factors. Financial administrative factors. Financial administrative factors. D, welfare of the people of state and country. Welfare of the people of state and country. Welfare of the people of state and country. Then it rejected 4-part classification, or it recommended abolition of, also you can say. It rejected 4-part classification and recommended 16 states and 3 centrally administered territory, CAT, and recommended 16 states plus 3 union territories. 16 states, 3 centrally administered territories. Then 7th Amendment 1956, States Reorganization, SRA 1956. States 7th Amendment 1956, SRA, States Reorganization Act 1956. Created 14 states, 6 union territories. 7th Amendment 1956, States Reorganization Act 1956, 14 states, 6 union territories. 6 union territories. Yeah, so this is the basic content part that should be there with respect to this chapter. Again, not very crucial. Next chapter is the most crucial, fundamental rights, but we are going in a flow. So look at it, look at the demand of the question. Again, just for you to have a current affairs perspective, I think you will be aware. Which one? Continuously the issues are in news. Where is that? I don't know, where have they mentioned? 9th schedule. Maybe they might have mentioned in federalism. This one. if you have seen recently last year, which one? Bill tribes, they demanded something called as Bill Pradesh again. Before that, if you recall, some 2-3 years back, 22, 23, Gorkha land issue was in news. So continuously one or other issue will keep coming up. Separate tribal state this is, consisting of parts of Rajasthan, MP, Gujarat, Madhya Pradesh, all combinedly. So in that broader context, if they take, that is this is the question, which multiple times you have seen. What is it? Many state governments further bifurcate. This is 2013, long back, as I have already told you in your open session related to Telangana, into districts and talukas for better governance. This is the broader statement. That's it. This is not the demand of the question. This is the demand. In the light of the above, can it be justified by that more number of smaller states would lead to effective governance? So anything that you write, you have to link it to which aspect? Governance aspect. So you can write some, broader point also, but are you able to link it to governance is the keyword. Clear? Please note down this question. This also is a very repeated question. Even in your normal class also we write, but if in case they repeat, so you should not be like, I don't know how to structure it now. In your fundamental rights, a lot of new topics will come. Till here, largely you are from basics only. Special packages, special category status, all those things are your next chapters. That will take a lot of time, fundamental rights. Yeah, some students have this confusion, sir, like how, let's say, like how they have given here, till your, which one, the first sentence, is it the demand of the question, should we actually address it, or shall we directly jump to more number of smaller states? So you cannot directly jump to this part. At least what you need to do, you have to address that first sentence part, because that is given for obviously certain reason, it is setting you the context. Directly you can't just go to the smaller states aspect. You should also address that why they go for this districts and talukas, not as a details apart, at least like in a para. Let's first address the first key part. Obviously, the broader question is about what? Article 3. So you need to start with that, because see here you can't define anything as we told. Where is the definition part? There is no definition part. So set the context at least. Article 3 empowers Parliament. Article 3 empowers Parliament to make changes in the already existing parts of India. Article 3 empowers Parliament to make changes in already existing parts of India. To make changes in the already existing parts of India. That is, just to sum up quickly, that is either to, or that is directly, that is increase or decrease or alter the boundaries. What you wrote just now before your before this question, increase or decrease or alter the boundaries, or renaming a state or UT, increase or decrease or alter the boundaries, or rename a state or UT, or create a new state or UT. That's it. You don't have to write the details of it. Or create new state or UT. This is the actually the question is with, but the first sentence is not with this. Clarify that. However, creation of new districts or talukas, because that words has to be there in your answer. However, creation of new districts or talukas, is not related to Article 3. Creation of new districts or talukas is not related to Article 3. It is directly done by state governments. It is directly done by the state governments. Directly done by state government. As I told, you don't have to address it as a subpart, just as in a para. Directly done by the state governments. And why do they do it? Address that. It is done to create smaller districts. It is done to create smaller districts, thereby deconcentrate. Create smaller districts, thereby deconcentrate the burden on district administration. Deconcentrate the burden on district administration. Concentrate the burden on district administration. And bring people more closer to the governance, more closer to the administration. And bring people more closer to the administration. Bring people more closer to the administration. Just linking those first, what do you call this, keywords first part. Now we have to go to the core. Can it be, what are they telling, can it be justified that more number of smaller states would bring in better governance? Again, you can use it as a, what do you call this, linking sentence, or as I told, you can link it, use it as what, typical subheading, box it, that also you can do. Polity part, I mean, narrowly it works through linking paragraphs, that's why you can write. In the post-independence era, India has emerged as a federalism based on disintegration model. In the post-independence, India has emerged as federation based on disintegration model. So keep underlining the keywords. Disintegration is the keyword. India has emerged as a federation based on disintegration model. That means what we have done? Big states have been divided into small states. Big states have been divided into smaller states. Big states have been divided into smaller states for better governance. Big states have been divided into smaller states for better governance. So anything you write now has to be as what? How will you link it to the governance aspect? Divided into smaller states for better governance. Now under that, generate those points like one after the other. First one, smaller states leads to customization of policies and programs. Customization of the policies and programs according to the local needs and challenges. Customization of the policies and programs according to the local needs and challenges. According to local needs and challenges. It is against one size fits all approach. Customization of policies and programs according to the needs and challenges. It is against one size fits all approach. Against one size fits all approach. And you can customize that. Two, second one, if genuine demands of people are addressed, genuine demands of people, harmony and peace can be maintained. Harmony and peace can be maintained. Hence, governance will be, harmony and peace can be maintained. Hence, governance can be improved. Example, hence governance can be improved. Example, in northeast states, governance improved post creation of ethnicity based states. Or in northeast India, governance improved after creating or after demanding, or whatever you can write. Governance improved after creating ethnicity based states. After creating ethnicity based states. Then smaller states smaller states will lead to, of course, again repeating the keyword, smaller states will lead to smaller districts and talukas. Smaller states lead to smaller districts and talukas, thereby bringing people closer to administration. Smaller districts and talukas, thereby bringing people more closer to administration. Bringing the people more closer to administration. Fine. Then smaller states leads to, or smaller states provides scope for empowerment of panchayats or local bodies, broader word. Smaller states provides more scope for empowerment of local bodies. Empowerment of local bodies, thereby improving governance. Thereby improving governance. Then smaller states like Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand, Uttarakhand, smaller states like Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand and Uttarakhand have improved in their state HDI parameters. Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand, Uttarakhand have improved in their state HDI parameters because of good governance. Improved in their state HDI parameters because of good governance. Because of the good governance. Then, according to Ambedkar, a country like India requires around 50 states for better governance. According to Ambedkar, country like India requires around 50 states for better governance. Requires around 50 states for better governance. So, governance keyword you have to keep on repeating. For better governance. Yeah, now you can put a subheading, or as I keep telling, you can generate a sentence also. Challenges. That's what we are writing now. Challenges. Challenges in creating smaller states. Challenges in creating smaller states. Challenges in creating small states. First one, financial viability problem. Financial viability problem. Financial viability problem. Keep underlining the words. Obviously, just explain that. What does that mean? Small states lack, or small states may struggle, whatever words. Small states may lack in resources, revenue. Small states may lack in the resources and revenue. Example, Andhra Pradesh still struggling to build a new capital. Andhra Pradesh is still struggling to build a new capital. Still struggling to build a new capital. Then, more states lead to interstate coordination problems. More states leads to interstate coordination problems, thereby affecting governance. Small states leads to more states also leads to interstate coordination problems, thereby affecting governance. Thereby affecting governance. If you want example, challenges related to climate change, terrorism, challenges related to terrorism, climate change, Naxalism gets difficult because of interstate coordination issues. Gets difficult because of interstate coordination issues. Because of the interstate coordination issues. Fine. Then another one, small states challenges. Okay. Third, next issue. It also, I mean, smaller states increase interstate water and border disputes. Small states increase interstate water and border disputes. Interstate water and border disputes, thereby affecting governance. Interstate water and border disputes, thereby affecting governance. Thereby affecting governance. Then smaller states are not panacea. PANACEA means one-stop solution. Smaller states are not panacea for all the problems or for all the governance related problems. They are not panacea for all the governance related problems. Just repeating the keywords. For all the governance related problems. For example, same Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh still face Naxalism problem. Recently also we say that. Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh still face Naxalism problem. They still face Naxalism problem. Fine. Yes, then way forward. First one, inclusive growth, sustainable development. Inclusive growth, sustainable development will address the real governance challenge, real challenges of governance. Inclusive growth and sustainable development will address the real challenges to governance. Address the real challenges to governance. B, empower local bodies. Empower local bodies to improve people participation and governance at the grassroots level. Empower local bodies to improve people's participation and governance at the local level, grassroots level. To improve people's participation and governance at the grassroots level. At the grassroots level. Then, Second States Reorganization Commission. Second States Reorganization Commission to evolve new parameters for 21st century states reorganization. Second States Reorganization Commission to evolve new parameters for 21st century states reorganization. 21st century states reorganization. Yeah, now broader conclusion you write. Post-independence experience shows that, post-independence history shows that smaller states, post-independence history shows that smaller states largely contribute to effective governance. Smaller states largely contribute to effective governance. Effective governance. However, it is a multi-dimensional issue. It is a multi-dimensional issue which has to consider other parameters, while creating new states, which has to be considered while creating new states. Only long pending genuine demands of people only long pending genuine demands of people, long pending genuine demands of people have to be considered or accepted in creating states. Long pending genuine demands of people should be accepted while creating new states. Under way forward, you can add that what? Empower interstate council, zonal council for interstate coordination issues. Empower interstate council, Article 263, zonal council to improve interstate coordination. Empower interstate council, Article 263 and zonal council to improve interstate coordination. Interstate coordination. So, the point is, whenever you write, you have to keep repeating those words of small states, governance. Security also you write, but you have to link it to governance. Or regional imbalance you write, how will it improve governance. So, if you just generally write about small states and don't link it to governance, any which way, minimum half a mark you will get less. Okay, that keywords of the question should keep getting repeated. That's the what do you call as this trick. Fine. About union and territories chapter, I think this is the only major question that you can expect. And we have also seen that Bill Pradesh issue, Uttar Pradesh issue. You all know that. If you want just in margin, again, as we keep writing in class, also you can write. So, what are the pending demands? Pending demands for small new states. Uttar Pradesh 4 new, write that. Pending demands for smaller states. UP and write those 4. Purvanchal, Bundelkhand, Paschim Pradesh, Awadh. UP 4 arrow marks you can do that. Purvanchal, Bundelkhand, Awadh, Paschim Pradesh. And then Bill Pradesh, just now you saw current affairs aspect. Bill Pradesh, parts of which one? Rajasthan, MP, Maharashtra, Gujarat. So, it's a larger area where Bill tribes are living. Bill Pradesh, parts of Rajasthan, MP, Maharashtra, Gujarat. Then Saurashtra, Gujarat, Vidarbha, Maharashtra, Gorkhaland, West Bengal, Sikkim, Assam. Saurashtra, Gujarat, Vidarbha, Maharashtra, Gorkhaland out of, Darjeeling, that is West Bengal, Sikkim, Assam. Gorkhaland, West Bengal, Sikkim, Assam. These are the major demands for the small states which are pending. Few others are there, but are not very, very strong. This is the only major mains question you can expect. So, that is your basic content part, PVQ part, in a way your current affairs part. Bardre always better. Remember, way forward is not necessarily conclusion, especially in subjects like polity, because opinion matters here. GS3 kind of, remember, economy, all those ones. Way forward itself can become conclusion. Again, this is ideal. In real time, what will happen, once you write way forward, again writing conclusion is not so easy, because you should have very good time management skill, or else significance, then criticism, then way forward, then conclusion is not so easy to write. So, then in that context, what you can do, let us say for example, you do not have specific measures like, okay, second state reorganization commission or interstate council, all those things. Let us say you do not have that kind of specific, either you do not have space or either you do not have specific measures to write under way forward. Then what you do? Under conclusion itself, broadly you can say, what kind of measures can you take? Means, let us say for example, way forward you do not have the space. Same points in the conclusion, how we can write? That in addition to creation of smaller states, government should empower interstate council, zonal council and local bodies, so that it will also contribute to effective governance. So, you can sum up that also, that way forward can get summed up in which one? Conclusion. Again, that is a, what do you call as a skill. The more and more you write, the more and more you will get that skill. It depends on, is it 10 marker or 15 marker? It depends on, do you have the time to write all the multiple dimension? It also depends on the space management skill. You have so much of content, let's say they have asked it as a 10 marker, addressing the core demand itself has taken a lot of space. Then how do you write again way forward? You will not have the space. Sum up in your conclusion itself. So it depends on your, is it a category A question or B question? B question, writing way forward is relatively easy because you will have space. A question, what is the challenge? A question 10 marker, you have a lot of content to write. Where will you write way forward also then? So the more and more you write, you will identify a pattern for that. Clear? So this is very easy parts. Now comes your very detailed one, which is obviously what? The most important part, put the heading, fundamental rights. I have already told you the core themes. Just if you want, write those core themes first. Then we'll write the content, basic content part, which you should keep it in mind. Then we'll go to the PYQ answers. Then we'll go to the current affairs aspect. So what are the major core themes under fundamental rights? Your article 12, 13, nobody will ask you all of that. What are the core parts? Right, yeah, article 21, most important. Core themes, article 21, article 19, that is freedom of speech and expression. Freedom of speech and expression, article 14, what you call as broadly golden triangle is the core theme. Golden triangle. This is where normally they'll ask. If not this, another way is matlab Supreme Court judgments. Let's say if that year you had any landmark Supreme Court judgment on article 21, they'll ask that. And in the recent times, what is the other aspect of, pattern of asking? What they tell? Constitutionalization of issues based on Supreme Court cases. Recall that they keep telling illustrate Supreme Court cases. Constitutionalization of issues like environmental aspect, justice, gender justice, constitutionalization of the issues based on case laws, Supreme Court judgments. Constitutionalization of the issues based on case laws. Based on case laws. So this is the pattern in which they ask fundamental rights related question. But of course, some basics has to be there in your answer, or else you can't generate the point so easily. So let's write that core content related to fundamental rights first. Then we'll come to the writing of answers for your PYQs. The most important chapter, of course, it will take a lot of time. Whatever possible basic content, we'll write them first. Obviously, what first? Basic, whenever there is fundamental rights question, these facts has to be there. Constitution aspect, part 3, article 12 to article 35. Part 3, article 12 to article 35. Article 12 to article 35. Then, because these statements has to keep getting repeated in your answers, or else arguments will not be very, what you call as significant, right? Those which on the moment you say rights, obligation of state towards individuals, obligation of states towards individuals, obligation of state towards individual, then entitlement of an individual, entitlement of an individual, then universal, then inherent, entitlement of an individual, and then universal, and then inherent, universal, inherent, fine. Then next one, because this again till now these kind of questions have not been asked, but again just to have a content. Recall even in your normal classes also in the beginning we write them. Natural rights. If in case in your arguments, if you have a scope to use it, please make use of that. Natural rights derived from nature. Again, if you have PSAR option, obviously you'll have better idea, but we are only writing it from the polity perspective. Derived from nature, does not depend on state or constitution, does not depend on state or constitution. According to John Locke, three important natural rights are life, liberty, property. According to John Locke, three important natural rights are right to life, right to liberty, right to property. Life, liberty, property. That's it. Then human rights. Redefined version of natural rights post Second World War. Human rights. Redefined version of natural rights. Redefined version of natural rights. Then UN UDHR 1948. UN Universal Declaration of Human Rights 1948. Write those keywords: universal, inherent, indivisible, inalienable. Universal, inherent, indivisible, inalienable. Universal, indivisible, inherent, indivisible, inalienable. That's what is playing. You have to play with the keywords, especially for subjects like entire GS-2. Universal, inherent, indivisible, inalienable. Inalienable. Fine. Then directly mention that which one? Trinity of human rights. Trinity of human rights. UDHR, ICCPR, UDHR, ICCPR, International Covenant on which one? Civil Political Rights, International Covenant on Economic, Social, Cultural Rights. ICCPR, ICESCR. ICESCR. Fine. Then generations of human rights. Generations of human rights. First generation, civil political, ICCPR. First generation, civil political rights. Of course, ICCPR. Civil political rights, ICCPR. Of course, you know the example, 1 or 2, right? Right to equality, right to vote, or freedom of speech. Right to equality, freedom of speech. Right to equality, freedom of speech. Second generation, economic, social, cultural. Economic, social, cultural. Simple. Right to education, health, work, food, so many things. ICESCR. Economic, social, cultural. ICESCR. Right to education, health. Then third generation, group rights. Group rights. Third generation group rights. Example, UNCRC, that is rights of children. UNCRPWD, this is for whom? People with disabilities. The UN Convention on Rights of People with Disabilities. UN Convention on, you don't have to write the full form, you'll be knowing that. Then fourth and fifth generation rights are still not clearly interpreted. Fourth and fifth generation rights are still not clearly interpreted. Still not clearly interpreted. It broadly includes, I'm just summing up because for mains it doesn't matter much. You just use it. It broadly includes digital rights, rights of future generation, digital rights, rights of future generation, rights of future generation, rights of non-human entities, rights of future generation, digital rights, rights of non-human entities, and rights in the outer space, because now you have the Mars exploration, interstellar spaces, all of that, space tourism, rights in the outer space. Then that very famous illustration, constitutional right, fundamental rights, constitutional rights, statutory rights, legal rights. So that's the equation, legal rights equals statutory rights plus constitutional rights plus fundamental rights. If in case you have forgotten, what are the constitutional? Right to vote, right to property, Indian context 326, 325, or right to property 300 capital A. Fine, then statutory is which one? RTI Act, National Food Security Act, right to work, MG Narega Act, statutory. Fine. MG Narega Act, right to work, RTI Act, etc. Then which other contents will obviously matter in your arguments, because again you have to keep using those words. If you look at it, again same words or logics will keep using. Please mention those. Regularly you have to use those keywords. Significance of fundamental rights, upholds constitutionalism. That itself I have made a very basic question. We'll write all of them. That's even, again, those are all basic static related question. Upholds constitutionalism. B, prevents concentration of power, prevents concentration of power. All of that linked, prevents concentration of power. Kind of extension, prevents arbitrary power, prevents concentration of power, prevents arbitrary power. Then upholds secularism, upholds secularism, upholds secularism. Then enhances personality of an individual, freedom, enhances personality of, or supports personality development of an individual, supports personality development of an individual. Then special protection for minorities, special protection for minorities, special protection for minorities. Fine. Same way, which other basics you need to write? Features of FR. That also has to be there, because those same arguments again we will use. Features of FR. Negative, negative in character, means puts restrictions on state. Negative in character. Then available for both Indians and foreigners. Available for both Indians and foreigners. In bracket if you want, which one exception? 15, 16, 19, 29, 30. Except 15, 16, 19, 29, 30. Then justiciable. Justiciable. Then not sacrosanct. Not sacrosanct. Then Supreme Court is guarantor of FR. Supreme Court is guarantor of FR. Supreme Court is guarantor of FR. Right? Then obviously which one? 6 fundamental rights. Just mention those articles. Each and every fundamental right will not do, obviously. That's not necessary for your mains part. 6 fundamental rights, write the broader ones. Right to equality, 14 to 18. Right to equality, 14 to 18. Right to freedom, 19 to 22. right to equality 14 to 18, right to freedom 19 to 22, right against exploitation 23, 24, right against exploitation 23, 24, right to religion, freedom of religion 25, 28, right to freedom of religion 25 to 28, 25 to 28. Then obviously what? Minorities 29, 30, constitutional remedy 32. Freedom of religion 25, 28, minorities 29, 30, constitutional remedy 32. Right? Then obviously your other things doesn't matter much. Each and every article is not detailed necessary. Important articles anyhow you will get the PVQs there itself. We will write the continuously. We'll keep writing them. Now we'll come to the look at this. Okay, I think I can. Yeah, look at this question 23 last year. I mean before that. You can write the question so that because this is more of what do you call this rather than current affairs aspect, more broader question they have made. If you can get this content first, then we'll go to the DNA testing, Puttaswamy judgment, constitutionalization, those aspects. Just note it down. 1 second, I'll come back. Yeah. So look at the key demand of the question. We are clearly using words like see till here it's actually not the demand. They are just using a broader statement like, see these kind of statements itself you can use in your answers. If you have gone through the PYQs regularly, that itself actually is one of your conclusion. You can easily write in any kind, if in case a question is on constitutional amendment or something, what kind of conclusion you can write? Indian constitution is a living document with enormous capabilities of what you call as this dynamism. It is a constitution made for progressive society. That itself is actually your introduction also in a way, in your conclusion also in a way, depending on how skilled are you in making use of that, depending on for which question you have to fit in that. And now in that context what they are telling, illustrate means specific, some examples or something you need to write with specific reference to, special reference to expanding horizons of, again which article? Article 21. And now as I keep telling, the first statement is not just given for the sake of it. You can't directly jump here. Of course you need not take it as a separate dimension and write. At least what you have to do, in the introduction part, let's say 1-2 paragraphs, address that, use those keywords. Clear? Yeah, please, I think you have noted down mostly everybody, please start writing. Yeah, please write, Indian constitution is based on the doctrine of Indian constitution is based on the doctrine of living tree. Is based on the doctrine of living tree. So explain that in sentence one sentence, what does that mean? Exactly, constitution keeps evolving according to the changing needs and circumstances. Constitution keeps evolving according to the changing needs and circumstances. According to the changing needs and circumstances. Indian constitution, next paragraph below that you can say, Indian constitution has been amended 106 times till now. Indian constitution has been amended 106 times till now. Important amendments are First Amendment 1951, 7th Amendment 1956, 42nd Amendment 1976, First Amendment 1951, 7th 1956, 42nd 1976, 52nd 1985, 73rd, 74th, and directly you write 106th 2023. I mean just one, you can write anyone's, I am just mentioning the few. 73rd, 74th 1992, 52nd 1985, directly 106 2023. Fine. Then below that, according to Justice Chandrachud, Indian constitution is a progressive evolving document. Indian constitution is a progressive evolving document, especially for the empowerment of vulnerable sections. Especially for the empowerment of vulnerable sections. Supreme Court being the ultimate interpreter and guardian of Constitution. Supreme Court being the ultimate interpreter and guardian of Constitution has given broader interpretation, being the ultimate interpreter and guardian of constitution, has given broader interpretation to it, has given broader interpretation to it, has given broader interpretation to it. Yeah, now that part you have addressed. No, I mean, even you could have substantiated also something like some important amendments. Now, till here, because you have used those keywords like living, this, that, everything, now you get to the article, put the broader heading, Article 21, right to life and personal liberty. Article 21, right to life and personal liberty. First, exactly tell what is there in your Article 21. Right to life and personal liberty is the heading. Then below that, Article 21 says that, no, you know that words matter a lot. Article 21 says that no person shall be deprived of his or her right to life and personal liberty. His or her life and personal liberty, except according to, which one? Procedure established by law. No person shall be deprived of his or her right to life or personal liberty, except according to the procedure established by law. Except according to the procedure established by law. Now you are referring to this. Now that they are telling expanding horizons. Before that, first write that. In A.K. Gopalan versus State of Madras, 1950. In A.K. Gopalan versus State of Madras, 1950, Supreme Court gave a narrow interpretation to Article 21. A.K. Gopalan versus State of Madras, Supreme Court gave a narrow interpretation to Article 21. Narrow interpretation to Article 21. Then below, however, in Menaka Gandhi versus Union of India, 1978, even if you write Menaka Gandhi case, it's fine. This is a model kind of a one, because you will take a lot of time and will write. Of course, in real time, as I keep telling, use 2/3 of the content, it's more than fine. In Menaka Gandhi, however, in Menaka Gandhi versus Union of India, 1975, Supreme Court gave a broader interpretation to Article 21. Supreme Court gave broader interpretation to Article 21. Broader interpretation to Article 21. It introduced the concept of due process of law. It introduced concept of due process of law. Keywords keep underlining continuously. Introduce the concept of due process of law. Then Article 21 was interpreted to include. Article 21 was interpreted to include. 21 was interpreted to include anything that is required to live a dignified life. Article 21 was interpreted to include anything that is required to live dignified life. That's the keyword. Anything to include a dignified life. Then below, again use those keywords. Anything that is required to live a dignified life. Then below that, Article 21. Article 21 is the most broadly interpreted article of the Constitution. The most broadly interpreted article of Constitution. The most broadly interpreted article of Constitution. Fine. If you want interpreted in place of word interpreted, you could have used what? The most broadly expanded also, if you want to use the same keyword. Then you write those whatever major interpretations, right? That first one, right to privacy, and you have to write, because they are telling you illustrate with specific reference, you have to write the cases. Right to privacy, you know that, please write. Case Puttaswamy judgment, Puttaswamy case. Right to privacy, KS Puttaswamy case. case, Puttaswamy case. Then right to die with dignity, Common Cause Foundation, or you can write Aruna Shanbag. Right to die with dignity, Common Cause Foundation. Better you write Aruna Shanbag because that's more famous. Aruna Shanbag. Right to clean environment. The moment you get environment, MC Mehta. That itself is another question that we'll write. Right to clean environment, MC Mehta. Then right to livelihood, Oliga Tellis. Right to livelihood, Oliga, O-L-I-G-A, Tellis, T-E-L-L-I-S, Oliga Tellis case. Right to livelihood, Oliga Tellis case. Fine. Then right against custodial torture, custodial death, D.K. Basu's case. Custodial torture and death, D.K. Basu case. D.K. Basu. Then right to food, PUCL. Right to food, PUCL. Like that, so many are there. You know that obviously if you right to health, Bandhuva Mukti Morcha. Right to health, Bandhuva Mukti Morcha. Education also, but anyhow education is made separate. Bandhuva Mukti Morcha, B-A-N-D-H-U-A, Bandhuva Mukti Morcha. Even in other case also they have referred, West Bengal, some case was there. Bandhuva Mukti Morcha. Fine, right to, you know that, right to, which one? Gender identity, landmark, I forgot that, Navtej Singh. Right to gender identity, Navtej Singh Johar. Forgotten, it's in fact, it's a part of right to privacy itself again. Gender identity, Navtej Singh Johar. You know that recent, which one? Right against the effect of climate change. Exactly, Ranjit Singh. Right again, that is, the Supreme Court has told it's linked to 14 also. Right against negative adverse effect of climate change, Ranjit Singh. Right against adverse effect of climate change, Ranjit Singh case. There's still so many, you all know that it's a very, very detailed one, right to information, this, that, everything you can add. Yeah, now what you have to write, again you have to go back and say what, this part you have addressed. But what you have to also address, if you give this level of broader interpretation, is it practically easy to handle it? Clarify that. These are invisible amendments to Constitution. These are invisible amendments to Constitution. These are invisible amendments to Constitution. Such broader expansion of the horizons of Article 21. Such broader expansion of the horizon of Article 21 has supported rights-based approach to development. Such broad expansion of Article 21 has supported rights-based approach to development. Again, all keywords keep underlining. Supported rights-based approach to development. However, rights-based approach to development, however, what it has also done, it also poses or created, it has also created new challenges to the state. However, it has also created new challenges to the state. Like what are the new challenges under that? Broader expansion of right to privacy. Broader expansion of right to privacy. Right to privacy creates challenges for national security, surveillance. Broader expansion of right to privacy creates challenges for national security, surveillance. Obviously, that means what gets difficult? Addressing problems like terrorism, tax evasion gets difficult. Addressing problems like terrorism, tax evasions becomes difficult. Tax evasion becomes difficult. tax evasion becomes difficult. That's obviously it will create a huge challenge for that. Then 2, if reproductive rights of women, because that itself is right to privacy, that again we'll write it as separate question, because right to privacy 2 or 3 you have. If reproductive rights of women, includes right to abortion or is interpreted to include, because as of now it is still not. If reproductive rights of women is interpreted to include right to abortion, what it creates? It creates social, cultural, religious challenges. If it is interpreted to include right to abortion, it creates social, cultural, religious challenges. Social, cultural, religious challenges. Fine. The next one. State has limitations in terms of resources. State has limitations in terms of resources. Has limitations in terms of resources to implement right to health, right to clean environment, etc. Because it is easy for you to tell, judiciary to tell, where does the state government has the resources. Then next one you can say, it has contributed to, or such a broader expansion has contributed to judicial supremacy. Such as broader interpretation has contributed to judicial supremacy, compromising separation of power. Such a broader interpretation has contributed to judicial supremacy, compromising balance of power, or separation of power also you can say. Compromising separation of power. This is, see, they are not asking you, they are only telling you, they are only asking you illustrate with specific reference to broader expanding horizons. But of course, you can generate that if you broadly interpret to such an extent, what will happen to other things? Yeah, then now again you need to conclude using all the keywords. I clarify that. Supreme Court has upheld the dreams of the constitution maker, has upheld the vision of the constitution makers. Supreme Court has upheld the vision of the constitution makers. Has upheld the vision of the constitution makers to transform Indian constitution into, a progressive document. Transform the Indian constitution into a progressive document. Again refer to Article 21 specifically. Article 21 along with 14 and 19. Article 21 along with 14 and 19 is aptly interpreted by Supreme Court as what? Golden triangle of the constitution in Menaka Gandhi case. Along with 14 and 19 is aptly interpreted as golden triangle of constitution in Menaka Gandhi case. Aptly interpreted as golden triangle of constitution in Menaka Gandhi case. Menaka Gandhi case. This is very broad question on 21. This is 2023. Fine. So please go through the content, the structuring part. Again, what some people will do, even for this progressive society, they'll write some examples. Like for example, transgender justice, one example they'll give, in the beginning part I am telling. Then they'll come to the expanding horizon. Again, it depends on, is it a 10 marker or 15 marker? 15 marker, you can write that. 10 marker, you will not have scope to expand that first sentence, because where is the space? So, are you getting the point right? Is it a 10 or 15? Is it my category A or category B? Depending on that, structuring changes a bit. And so you can't what exactly copy paste the same content. broader idea. (19) and 21 will come to that later. This is 15, 16, financial emergency, where is the gender justice? Right to privacy, right to, I think we have left out on those two. There are two other questions, then we'll come to the 2024. I think they have left it out here. Please write 2023. I'll read out the exact question. I think somehow they have missed out. Obviously, you would have seen this question. One second. (23). Yeah, please write the question. Explain the constitutional perspective of, then this 22 question also. Explain the constitutional perspective of gender justice. Constitutional perspective of gender justice with the help of constitutional perspective of gender justice with the help of relevant constitutional provisions. With the help of relevant constitutional provisions and case laws. So, two aspects, three aspects you can say, three keyword, gender justice, constitutional provision and three, case law. Constitutional perspectives of gender justice with the help of relevant constitutional provisions and case laws. Fine? Yeah, so obviously again they had asked it as a 15 marker, but you will get so much of content to write because they are telling you what? The question is about gender justice. First, what do you need to write? Constitutional provisions. Second, what do you need to write? Supreme Court's interpretations, mean case laws. Clear? So obviously, how will you write? You can't define anything here. Broadly write about the, see, this itself actually can become your introduction. Clarify that. Indian Constitution is made for a progressive society. See, same statement I am using. Indian Constitution is made for a progressive society. It is made for a progressive society. It includes various provisions. It includes various provisions to uphold the ideal of value of gender justice. To uphold the ideal of gender justice. We'll first broadly introduce, then we'll go to the points. It includes various provisions to uphold the ideal of gender justice. Then, because anyhow question is also talking about what? Case laws. Supreme Court has functioned as harbinger of, I think you'll be knowing that, HAR means flag bearer. Supreme Court has functioned as the harbinger of gender justice through its broader interpretation of the Constitution. Harbinger of the gender justice through its broader harbinger of gender justice, you can put it in single inverted, through its broader interpretation of Constitution. Broader interpretation of the Constitution. Fine. And now what you need to write? subheading there, constitutional provisions are related to gender justice, which is very simple, obviously you know. Constitutional provisions related to gender justice. Again, for a better organizing, what you can do? Constitutional provisions related to gender justice. Under that, what you write? Fundamental rights in bracket part 3. Fundamental rights part 3, because they are clearly telling you, write the constitutional provisions first. Constitutional provisions related to gender justice, under that fundamental rights part 3. Obviously, you know, women angle, please write Article 14, right to equality. Article 14, right to equality. Then 15, prohibition of discrimination based on sex or gender. These are theory part only. There is nothing current affairs part in this subheading. Article 15, prohibition of discrimination based on sex or gender. Then 15 clause 3, special provisions for women. 15 clause 3, special provisions for women. Special provisions for women. Then 16 clause 1 or 16 broadly, equality of opportunity. Equality of opportunity. Equality of opportunity irrespective of sex or gender. I mean, if you want public employment, that you write. Article 16, equality of opportunity in public employment irrespective of the sex or gender. Irrespective of the sex or gender. Fine. Then if you want 25 to 28, freedom of religion for women. 25 to 28, freedom of religion for women. So that is under fundamental rights. Any other article specifically about women? Child labor, the 23, 24, you don't have specifically women, 21 to 20, nothing specifically. Again, fundamental right, writs, nothing specifically. Then DPSP, part 4. Women angle you need to bring, because transgender angle we don't have. In the constitution you don't have. That's Supreme Court part. Fine. DPSP, part 4, obviously Chan. 39 clause A. Livelihood opportunities for all. I mean, including women. Just write that angle, that's it. Livelihood. 39 clause A, livelihood opportunities for all, including women. 39 clause D, equal pay for equal work. If you want, you can write what some people do, they'll also write measures like Equal Remuneration Act, all of those things. 39 clause D, equal pay for equal work. Then 42, maternity benefit for women. Article 42, even 41 you can say. 42, maternity benefit for women. Maternity benefit for women. If you want, you can write 41, public assistance for women. 41, public assistance for women. Then 51A, I mean fundamental duties, 51 capital A. Part 4A, Article 51 capital A. Fundamental duties, Article 51 capital A. Part 4 capital A. Right? So what do you have there? Renounce practices derogatory to dignity of women. Renounce practices derogatory to dignity of women. Renounce practices derogatory to the dignity of women. Derogatory to the dignity of women. Fine. Then in fundamental duties, if you want few other ones, you can others just write few other constitutional provisions also support gender justice. Few other provisions also support gender justice. Few other provisions also support gender justice. Example, Article 326, right to vote for women. Few other provisions also support gender justice. Example 326, right to vote for women. Right to vote for women. 300 capital A, right to property for women. 300 capital A, right to property for women. These are broader ones. Again, as I keep telling, you make use of 2/3 because we take a lot of time here and then we write. Fine, right to property for women. If you still will have few, if you exactly count it, right to contest elections also for women is there. Yeah, 106th, that itself we forgot, 106th, 330 capital A, 332 capital A, reservation for men, exactly. 106th Constitutional Amendment 2023, 330 capital A, 332 capital A, 1/3 reservation in, 1/3 reservation in Lok Sabha and Assembly. The same thing you write, which one? 73rd, 74th Amendment, 1/3 reservation in Panchayat and Municipality. Yeah, so broadly these are the constitutional aspects, because transgender aspect is not there where in the constitution we don't have that aspect. But of course you can write it under Supreme Court aspect. Now what do you have to write? Because specifically what is the word they are using? Case law. So directly you can put the heading, yeah, they are telling case laws. Put the heading Supreme Court's case laws. Supreme Court's case laws and gender justice. Supreme Court's case laws and gender justice. Under that, you be in here you can divide into two, and gender justice. Under that, women development or women development or women rights, something like that you can say, women rights. Because anyhow you put the heading gender justice, under that women angle you write first. Of course, landmark women related case you write Shabano case. Shabano case, right to maintenance after divorce for Muslim women, or right to maintenance for Muslim divorced women, whatever. Right to maintenance for Muslim divorced women. Fine. 1985 Shabano. Obviously, second, very famous Vishaka guidelines. You know that, please write. Vishaka guidelines. Vishaka guidelines. Right again, you know, please read that. Right against exploitation at, yeah, exactly. Right against sexual exploitation in workplace. Vishaka guidelines. Right against sexual exploitation at workplace. Then Shaira Bano case, triple talaq unconstitutional. Shaira Bano case, triple talaq unconstitutional. Triple talaq unconstitutional. Joseph Shine case, adultery declared unconstitutional. I mean, adultery decriminalized, you can say. Joseph Shine case, adultery was decriminalized. Then if you want, case Puttaswamy case, reproductive rights declared as part of right to privacy. Case Puttaswamy case, reproductive rights, and if you want, if you add bodily autonomy of women, reproductive rights, this is in general, but we are giving the women touch. Reproductive rights of women and bodily autonomy, both part of right to privacy. Part of right to privacy. If you want another one, Hadia case, right to choose life partner, right to marry. That's also largely women angle only, that is. Huh? King. Shabrimala, this one, All India Young Lawyers Association case. Shabrimala case, that is All India Young Lawyers Association. 3, 4 you have to write, that's it. We are writing it as so that this itself will become as your reference material. And now, which angle also you can add here? Transgender justice. That's the dimension which has to be mandatorily there, because they are not telling you their women angle. They are telling you a broader aspect of gender justice. Transgender rights. Yeah, 2, 3 you have. Famous judgment, please write. Which one? Navteet Singh Johar. Navteet Singh Johar, right to gender identity declared as part of 21. Of course, you can also write section 377 decriminalized. Navteet Singh Johar, section 377 decriminalized. Homosexuality decriminalized, section 377 unconstitutional. Right to gender identity, part of 21. Right to gender identity are part of article 21. Part of article 21. Fine. Then, of course, which one? Nalsa case. Nalsa case. Transgender declared as third gender. Nalsa case. Transgender declared as third gender. Transgender declared as third gender. And what they also told? Exactly, it should be considered as, or it should be eligible for the benefits of backward classes. They are eligible for the benefits of the backward classes. Whatever OBC benefits you get, you give it to them is the point. Fine. Then they did not specifically uphold the same sex rights, but you can write it as a broader aspect. Suprio case. Suprio case. Because they should not get confused, that's why I clarify. Though Supreme Court did not upheld same-sex marriage, though Supreme Court did not support same-sex marriage, though Supreme Court did not support same-sex marriage, it said that LGBTQ community, it said that the LGBTQ community also enjoys a dignified life and a bouquet of rights. Also enjoy LGBTQ community also enjoys a dignified life, also deserve a dignified life and enjoy bouquet of rights. Exact words they used. And enjoy a bouquet of rights. Yeah, that's the broader, because you are writing constitutional perspective of gender justice, relevant constitutional provisions and case laws. Yeah, so then broader aspect you can write, despite, broader conclusion, despite various constitutional provisions, and judiciary support, to gender justice, to the gender justice, both women and transgender still face, enormous challenges in the society, because of stereotypes, prejudices, patriarchy, and patriarchy. Yeah, to give a historical angle, you can say Constituent Assembly consisted of women members. Like Sarojini Naidu, Dakshayani Velayudan. Constituent Assembly consisted of women members like Sarojini Naidu, of course Rajkumari, Amrit Kaur, like that, so many were there. Dakshayani Velayudan, women members like Dakshayani Velayudan, Sarojini Naidu, who envisioned a constitution, which is women inclusive or gender inclusive. Envisioned a constitution which is gender inclusive. we need more efforts to fulfill their goal. We need more efforts to fulfill their goal, their vision. More efforts to fulfill their goal. So this is broader, just go through it once. This is the gender aspect. Then this environment aspect also, I think I'll tell them to include all those questions. I think 23, somehow both the questions have missed out here. Maybe they might have added in fund, I don't know, Supreme Court or somewhere. Somehow it's missing. 24 we have it. 23 missed. Okay. I'll tell you that question also. Please note it down, which is 2022. The most significant achievement of modern law in India. Most significant achievement of the modern law in India. Is the constitutionalization of environmental problems they have used. Constitutionalization of the environmental problems by Supreme Court. Constitutionalization of the environmental problems by Supreme Court, discussed with the help of relevant case law. Constitutionalization of the environmental problems by Supreme Court, discuss with relevant case law. Discuss with relevant case laws. Yeah, again look at it. So what they are trying to say here, same aspect only. If you look at the pattern, whatever we wrote just now is what? Constitutionalization of the gender aspect. There they specifically told constitutional provision of gender justice and case law. Here what they are not talking? They are not talking constitutional provisions, but of course you can write, if you have any provision related to the constitutional aspect, you can write that, no doubt. Then of course Supreme Court case laws. In a way this is also related to what? Article 21 only, but you can also give a broader aspect. Fine, that is your which one? Environmental aspect. So how will you structure it then? You tell me the structure. Constitutionalization of, this is the broader question I am telling you, I am writing it here. Environmental problems by Supreme Court. Okay, maybe what I can do is, I will tell you the cases. Fine, you try to structure it. Fine, that is the overall demand, right? Is there any words they have used? Modern law is the correct. Exact Supreme Court, 3 to 4 cases I will tell you, but you have to structure it and then write, so that you will understand how to do that. If you want, note it down. MC Mehta case, broadly what they told, right to clean environment, that is one case. Obviously there are so many. Then which one? Vellore Citizens Welfare Forum case. Vellore Citizens Welfare Forum. There are so many cases. If you know other cases, of course you can write, no doubt about it. But these are famous ones. In which Supreme Court, which one? Polluter pays principle. Polluter pays principle. I am giving you the case. I want you to write the answer in a structured way. Polluter pays principle. Then Bhopal gas tragedy case. Bhopal gas tragedy case, which is famously limited liability replaced by what? Absolute liability. Limited liability replaced by absolute liability. Then Soundararajan case, even AP Pollution Control Board case also they tell, or AP Pollution Control Board case, sustainable development principle introduced. Then remember from last year continuously people are discussing it. Which one? You tell. The forest related. Godavarman Tirumalapad. Tirumalapad case, what they told? Broader or you can say dictionary definition of forest should be used. So what all will fall under definition of forest? They told not something which is not just recorded in documents. Dictionary definition of forest should be used. 1995. Dictionary definition of forest to be used. So these are 3, 4. If you have any remember that Taj Mahal acid rain related case, like that, so many are there. If you have other ones, of course, NGT has told, but so because they have specifically talked about Supreme Court, I am telling this. Now please sit here, write the answer, so that at least we will get to know. Take 10 minutes, it's fine. We have already written some at least 4 or 5 answers. I have told you the exact demand of the, exact wordings of the question. It's a PYQ itself. Please write for, what's the time? You can write till, I take 10 minutes. It's fine. Structure it and write how to introduce, how to generate dimensions. If you think you can generate another extra dimension, generate it. It's 128 now, write till 138. Though it's a 10 marker, write little more. How much ever you can write in 10 minutes. Till 138. You can generate a dimension and write about, like how you wrote the previous question, constitutional dimension, then generate another dimension, right? What are the challenges, Supreme Court interpretation? But this is the core part. Core part should never be missed. You have 2 minutes, so try to come to the end part of the question, like either the challenges of broader interpretation or conclusion. Yeah, fine, try to conclude. I think I can put a timer, so from evening I'll tell them clock 1, so that 7 minutes, 10 minutes, so that it will be better for you. Conclude, try to conclude. Never miss out on conclusion because it matters a lot. And the more, I know obviously a lot of, especially in polity, governance kind of answers, generating conclusion itself is challenge. Points you can generate, cases you can write. So that's why I keep focusing more on conclusion, introduction part also. Okay, see what you guys can do. So try to exchange between yourself so that at least I'll tell you the broader structuring. You guys can evaluate. So I try to give for someone who is sitting besides you. So look at the broader structuring part, what all you can write. I'll tell you the broader structuring part. So based on that, exchange mark so that at least you'll get an idea. That's it. Or you want to go through it by yourself, it's fine. You do it by yourself, anything is fine. See, obviously, what is the question trying to say? Look at the keywords. What are the broader ones? The most significant achievement of modern law is the constitutionalization of environmental problems by Supreme Court. Explain the statement, whatever, with relevant case laws. Obviously, in the broader, there's no definition. You can't introduce any definition here. Maybe one of the best way of definition is what? You can write by saying what? Constitution makers or constitution is as we told, like constitution is a progressive document which has various provisions related to environment. In addition, Supreme Court has given a broader interpretation to the environmental issues through its various landmark cases. Something like that you can introduce, or you can use some other aspects also. Anyone? Some historical background, like what have you used? That okay, historic, directly you have written that case in the, okay, maybe, but a specific case you can't, you need not mention it here because anyhow they are telling you clearly Supreme Court case laws is better, you could have used it there. Then they have not asked you about constitutional provisions related to environment. If you have, because we gave 10 minutes, actually you could have, like how you wrote for gender justice, you could have written that, constitutional provisions related to environment. So wherever you find provisions related to environment, where do you find, for example, in your DPSP you will find, recall, Article 48 capital A, protection of, you know that, environment, forest, wildlife. Of course, in fundamental duties you have it. You can write that also, fundamental duties, same way. Then any other provisions you have constitutional provisions, in fundamental rights you will not have anything explicitly. Yeah, duties you have, exactly, 4051A, that you can write. Then, okay, finance commission aspect, okay, maybe you can write something like that, 15th finance commission I recommended, though not exactly, because that's not a constitutional provision, because he is referring to the horizontal devolution aspect. Then you have to come to which one? Supreme Court. So Supreme Court has given a broader interpretation, or Supreme Court has, as I told, you can write it as what? Harbinger of environmental justice. Gender justice angle, you can book it to environmental justice angle, and then refer to all these cases, how Supreme Court has given broader interpretation. Even other one we missed out, which one? Climate, this Ranjit Singh, Article 21, against adverse effect of climate change, all these you write. Then what do you generate? That yes, Supreme Court has given broader interpretation, agreed. What is the importance of this also you can write. Here you are writing only cases. What you can also generate? Importance of these landmark judgment. Because of that, what has happened? Because of this, see, what do you call this? The issues of global warming, climate change, everything has become an integral part of the government policies and programs. Fine, Supreme Court has forced, pressurized government to focus more on this. Because of this only, what you have? Landmark legislations like Wildlife Protection Act, Forest Conservation Act, EPA, this, that, everything is because of that. That also you can write. And then environment related programs you can write. Government has implemented, you know, various things, whatever you have, environment related compensatory afforestation, everything, that aspect you can write. Then you, what you can do, if you have still scope, depending on, because you wrote 10 marker, I mean 10 minutes, challenges. Supreme Court has given broader interpretation. Because of this challenge is what? If you give this level of interpretation, how will you come up with development projects, infrastructure project, mining projects, how will you come up with that? Godavarman case, because of that, yes, 33% target under National Forest Policy 1988 you can meet. But again, challenge is what? Challenge is same. How will you come up with projects? That's another one. Then, if you come up with this broader interpretation, how will government pay the compensations? How will you come up with land acquisition? Exactly, economy versus environment debate. Understood? Or remember Western Ghats. Because of this level of interpretation, Western Ghats, so see which one, what is that, Madhav Gadgil you can't implement, you have to go for what, Kasturi Rangan, that itself is becoming a challenge. Or which one, the wildlife protection versus rights of tribals, remember regularly you will keep coming across that national park, should we evacuate tribals or not, biosphere reserve, should we evacuate tribals or not, that's a challenge. All these issues are recent, right from Narmada Bachao Andolan issue to recent Hasdi Aranya issue. All that you can keep on referring to them, saying interpretation is very easy. What is difficult? Practical implementation is not so easy. But ultimately, what you have to support? Ultimately, you have to support that what? We need a judicious balance between environmental justice and, of course, economic development projects. In addition, which one? Rights of the indigenous people. And Supreme Court should interpret on Supreme Court, or you can say a government should keep all these things in mind while implementing their programs and projects. Fine. If you bring this level of broader interpretation, getting that 7.5 to 8 is easy. Again, practical challenges, I mean, because of the time limit, you have to write all these dimensions, that you have to keep it in mind and generate. Good, good, correct point. So, what he is trying to say is that, yes, correct, but government alone cannot implement it, because if you want to tackle something like climate change, all these things, what do you need? International cooperation is very necessary. Remember that whatever that environmental angle, loss and damage mechanism, or common but differentiated responsibility, that also one point you can write, not the entire thing, that one challenge. Correct, good point. Anything else? Any other new points you had written? Please tell, so that others can also keep writing that. Local communities, yeah, fine, correct. Local communities also has to participate equally in upholding the environmental justice, exactly. Like for example, you can write joint forest, what do you call this, management programs, all those things you can write. Sustainable development rights, yeah, fine, correct. Then, of course, you will have written some other arguments, but that is how you have to write the broader aspects. Very good, very good. That's also a very good point. See, India is a developing country. If you give this level of broader interpretation, how will you shift? Renewable energy will support. How will you shift directly from coal? Remember, even today, how much? At least 50-60% I think, then economy facts, you know, the thermal energy we are dependent. If you give this, how will you shift directly? Very good points, correct, very good points, sir. I think got an idea, right? In the challenges, because challenges they are not asking you if you look at the question. But if you only write one dimension and Supreme Court cases, 4 out of 10. Or if it's a 15 marker, 6 out of 10. You generate that dimension and how judicial supremacy, developing countries problem, environment versus economy, environment versus tribes, and as I told, international angle, local community angle, and the transition being a developing country from coal based economy to what do you call this, to typical renewable energy economy, not so easy. then your answer will go to that 7.5 or 8. Because remember, as Vinay sir continuously keep telling, if you have observed, even if you have go to him individually also he keeps telling, where is your personality? Means that your dimension should come, your arguments, your analysis, what you call as originality, whatever you call them as, that should always be reflected. Clear? Not merely. Always remember mains, UPSC notification. Yes, you need facts, substantiation. Mains is not a what? What is that first statement? In mains, we are not trying to test your range of, not only your range of memory or information. What we need? We are testing your intellectual traits, your ability to take a stand on conflicting socio-economic issues, of course, your ability to analyze and understand. So keep that in mind always. Substantiation is not always primary. Substantiation is what? Arguments you have to substantiate, not substantiate and then argument. Fine? Okay, so we still have fundamental rights. Obviously, you know, there are so many current affairs angles also, so many issues are there. That all we'll cover. Let's come back by 4. It's already almost 2 now. Fine? Yeah, so this will be the normal approach. Session 2, 4 p.m. I think same. I think they have put it as the same classroom, right? Yeah, come back by 4.